Hey friends, and welcome back to Sewing from Scratch. I am Kate, and this is where I teach you everything I know about sewing, and we learn more together along the way. Today's video is going to be a true sew along, my very first sew along, where we sew a specific pattern together, beginning to end. Sort of. This is the first video where we're going to be prepping the fabric, getting everything ready so that we can actually start the sewing, which will happen in the next video. So without further ado, let's get to it. So as you know from the title of this video, we are doing Burda 5085. It is this pattern right here, and it includes a pant skirt, what they call a pant skirt, or we might know as culottes or jupe culottes if you're French. Basically shorts that look like a skirt because they are so full and have a really nice swing to them. The pattern also includes a really interesting button-up style shirt. We are not going to be doing that pattern this time, but if you are interested in that, definitely let me know and we can look into doing a sew along for that part as well. So for these shorts, pants, whatever you want to call them, there are two length options. There are a shorter length and a longer length, and that is pretty much the only options you have other than adding pockets in or not, which cannot even be an option because of course we're going to be adding pockets.
So what you're going to need for this project is the pattern, your fabric, elastic, something to cut the fabric with, and of course pins or clips. I'm also using this tracing paper and wheel simply because I have it on hand, but you could just as easily use some chalk or a pencil or some water erasable markers.
So I'm choosing to do the shorter length today, and I am using this pink fabric. It's kind of a light, like a rosy pink, rosy blushy pink, and I believe it to be a linen poly blend. I don't believe it to be 100% linen because it does have kind of the plasticky polyester feel to it, and the threads that come off of it when it frays definitely seem like polyester. And the cut of fabric I have is 2 meters by 159 centimeters. I actually ended up having a full 70 centimeters by the width of fabric left over, and I also have a smaller strip alongside, and I did end up cutting off about 4.5 inches from each pant piece, so you actually don't need a ton of fabric for this pattern. So this is a vintage pattern, and if you have one that you've picked up at a thrift store, the pattern pieces might be cut out for you, which is the case for me. Luckily, it was cut in my size, so I really didn't have to do any altering to the pattern itself. But what you're gonna find in the pattern envelope is the big sheet with the pattern pieces on them. I believe this big sheet also includes the Burda sizing guide, so there's also that sizing chart if you need it in the pattern envelope. And then you also have the instructions. Yeah, 2 full pages front to back of overwhelming instructions, which is why I'm here to help you go through this so much easier. And like I said, for today's video, we are just going to be preparing the pattern pieces. So that means cutting out your pattern pieces. Again, mine's already done, so you go ahead and determine what size is working for you, and you cut out that pattern piece. Keep in mind, if you're looking to purchase this pattern, that vintage, well, even modern day Big Four or commercial pattern companies, they only sell in a select size range. So for example, this one here is only sizes 8 through 18. So if you are searching for this, make sure that you're looking for something in your size range. Or if you're confident in grading up or down, that is an option as well, but just keep that in mind.
All right, let's get started prepping our pattern. We're going to be using pattern pieces 1, 2, and 3. These are the front pants, back pants, and pockets. Cut out your tissue pieces, keeping in mind there is no seam allowance built in. If you plan to use this pattern again, I would recommend taping paper along all seam edges and adding seam allowance at this point. It will make it easier for cutting out this time as well as in the future. Looking at the pattern pieces, you will see some different markings. Triangle notch 1 is for the pocket placement and is shown on all 3 pattern pieces. Triangle notch 2 is for the waist alignment and appears on both pant pieces. And then notch 3 is for the inseam of both pant front and back. There's also the waistband lines. You're going to find out that I don't end up using them like at all, but they are there if you decide to make use of them. There's also 2 kind of horizontal markings on the pocket piece as well as both pant pieces. This is where the pockets will match up here, but these lines are actually to indicate stop sewing and start sewing for when we construct the pocket portion of the pants. Now, a great way to save on tracing for different views is to fold back portions of the patterns for different lengths, like I'm doing here, since I'm using the short version. This way I can use the longer version in the future if I want.
So like I said, go ahead, cut out your pattern pieces, and then we are going to be placing those onto our fabric to cut the fabric. Again, making sure that we're noting any notches or other markings that need to be included on the pattern pieces. And again, you're going to need pattern pieces 1, 2, and 3. You're going to need 2 of each of the pant legs and then 4 pieces of the pocket pieces. Now you're going to notice that when I'm cutting out my pattern pieces, I'm really not following along with the cut diagrams in the instructions. To be honest, I don't think I've ever followed a cut diagram for a pattern, and I have sewn many patterns. I prefer just to kind of lay it out, see what's going to fit best. If I have a lot of fabric, I'm much less worried about it, but if I know the fabric is just going to fit, then I definitely lay things out ahead of time, make my game plan, kind of Tetris it around, and be sure that it's going to fit the way I want it. I do have a full video on this, so I will be sure to link that for you down in the description box as well as right up here. But the main tip I can give you is cut on the fold, but not on the half fold, or what I call the half fold, meaning I don't fold my fabric right in half, selvage edge touching selvage edge. I only fold it over to where I need it just to fit that pattern piece, and then I continue to do that as needed. These pattern pieces are quite large, so you probably could fold right in half if you can fit the 2 side by side. So you're gonna see that I did not add seam allowance to the top waistband here. I think I would recommend doing that. It really didn't make a difference in the overall effect of the pants and everything lined up and everything like that. It did alter the space that I had available for elastic, which was fine because I was using 1/2 inch elastic versus the recommended 5/8 anyway.
The recommended elastic size is 5/8 of an inch. I had this roll of 1 inch knit elastic on hand, so I just went ahead and measured out enough to go around my waist and then sliced it exactly in half to give me 2 1/2 inch pieces. Because I didn't add seam allowance to my waistband, this size was perfect for my casings.
If you are enjoying this video and it's helpful for you, or you're just like putting it on while you are sewing yourself with something else, that's what I like to do personally, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Once you have all your pattern pieces cut, that's kind of the bulk of this video.
Next, I'm just using some chalk to mark out the snips that I had made when I was cutting out my fabric, because I'm going to be serging this, and sometimes those snips can get lost in the thread chain of the serger, and this makes it easier to see. You can definitely do this when you're cutting out the pieces as well.
And I went ahead and serged around every single piece of this. There's only 8 pieces, so it really didn't take that long, but it is something that's going to be helpful for when we actually come to the construction of the culottes. I will say the pocket curve, you probably wouldn't need to serge at this point. That is the one seam that could be serged together after it is constructed. Okay, so now that you have your pattern pieces cut, marked, and serged, that's it. We're gonna do the rest of this make in another video, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it. It will be coming out later this week, so we can finish sewing these culottes together, and I can see the version that you have made, and you can get a better look at the version that I have made. I will catch you then. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!